All right, you guys know that I'm a Transformers fan. I got the Optimus Prime shirt on right now from the beginning, and I know these guys are too. That's why I'm so excited to talk to them about Transformers BotBots coming to Netflix on March the 25th. It's Kevin Burke and Doc Wyatt, showrunners. How you guys doing?
Hey, doing good.
Yeah, doing great. Glad to be here.
So, guys, it feels like this is more than meets the eye, more than ever before with BotBots, and I love that about it. So, to kind of feel like this show had kind of like this endless amount of possibilities for you guys, or what?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've been Transformers fans since Transformers, first came out, and one of the aspects about this show that we really much wanted to drive for was that great original idea, the core idea that it's robots in disguise, that anything you look out the window could be a secret robot. I remember when I was a kid seeing a car and thinking, I bet that's a robot. Now you can do that with literally anything you see in a store or anything around you. You can look in your own house and say, is that coffee cup a robot? Like, anything could be a robot. And we wanted to capture that Transformers feeling there.
So usually what happens is you get show first, then toys, not the other way around. This time you guys are kind of working the opposite way, where the toys have been out since, I believe, 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But how long has the show actually been in the works? Have you guys been working on this for a while? And how does that make a difference for you guys that it went in that order?
Well, it necessarily went in that order, because what happened was we were working at Hasbro Studios on a different Transformers show, and we saw the designs for these that before they had come out back in 2018. We saw the designs for BotBots and in a big Transformers brand book that was in the office, and we immediately went to our executives and said, "Let's make the show. We want to make the show." And they sort of said, "Well." Yeah, I may be surprised by how immediately passionate we were to get a show going. And they're like, well, if you guys can develop a show and if you can get it sold, we can make a show. And so we were enthusiastic from the very beginning. But that's why Toy First is, because we saw the toys and we said, man, this has got to be a show.
And in some ways, that was the most of any of the shows we've done. It was the most like being a kid playing with toys, because we had the toys and thought, what adventures can these toys have? Which is the exact opposite of what usually happens.
We had a big pile of BotBots sort of in between our desks in the studio space, and we could sit there and talk about the show while we were sort of fidgeting with them, transforming them and lining them up in rows and talking about what they could do, and it was great.
Gosh, that's such a good way to put it. That makes so much sense now that you guys said it that way. Now, you said it already. You're both longtime Transformers fans, just like I am. And I was thinking about like how you were introduced to Transformers for the first time. How does it feel knowing that these bots that you're playing with right now in this show could be somebody's first entry into Transformers? Because I've got 3 little ones at home right now.
It's super, super exciting for us. I mean, we got into Transformers at the start, and every Transformer that I had was just an amazing adventure, waiting to happen. And I was reading the comics and obviously then watching the show and just obsessed with that. And, it's been a long time since that came out in the 80s, and there's been a lot of lore and a lot of different versions. And to some people, it is tough to get into Transformers because it's been a lot of years. And so we wanted to, at very least, create a show that if you love Transformers for almost 40 years, you can love this show. It doesn't negate anything that you've been loving, this entire time. And if you've never even heard of Transformers, you can turn this on and get the core idea and fall in love with these characters that are all brand new, and really find your place in this world here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember my first ever introduction to Transformers was seeing an Optimus Prime on the shelf in whatever store that doesn't exist anymore that I saw it in, and then discovered the show, and then and every Transformer I've ever owned I still own. Some are in boxes at my mom's house, but I've still got them. And I love that idea. I love the idea. We're both dads, we have kids, and we love the idea that our viewers are going to fall in love with these characters the way that we fell in love with the characters that we were introduced to.
Oh, I wish I had all my old ones, and I don't. So I'm as if I wasn't jealous of you guys enough already. Now I am for sure.
No, I know.
Well, if you saw the condition that some of them were in, you would.
It doesn't matter, Doc. It doesn't matter. You still have them, and you know it. So I got to say, I'm watching the show, and I can't decide who's my favorite at this point. Is it Kick Me? Is it Clogstopper? I can't decide. I'm sure you guys can't either because you got so many fun ones. So did you guys find that you were kind of drifting towards a favorite, or was there somebody that was just really fun for you guys to write?
Well, writing wise, my favorite was always Clogstopper because he's the one who comes from these obtuse angles and says some of the strangest things that you do a bit of a double take where you're like, what could that have been referencing? He doesn't drive a lot of the stories, but he's definitely a character that comes in. When he showed up into a scene, I knew we were going to have a lot of fun with him because he always brings a totally wild perspective to any situation.
For me, it was Frostfratu. Like Frostfratu gets to be, he's a cupcake who is a robot, who is a vampire, who is a hypnotist, who is a very bad hypnotist. And there's that particular combination always worked for me.
God, am I so glad you picked that one, because that was another one that I really, really loved too. And we get to see a lot of them, which I really love as well. So guys, your opening title sequence, I think people are going to be talking about that too, because I love the fact that it literally explains the show in hilarious detail right there in the opening sequence. So talk about what made you guys decide to go that route, because I actually think it makes it more memorable.
That was actually part of our original pitch. Our idea was to go the Gilligan's Island or some of the other, routes in which we didn't have to spend a ton of time doing setup. Or if you hadn't seen an episode and you went over to your friend's house and you tuned in, 5 episodes in, you didn't need to be like, well, who are these people? What happened here? That every time through a great song, you would be reminded as to what the setup is, and that's important to us. It makes it a bit timeless, and it makes it, every episode works on its own. It tells an overarching story, but from the very start, we wanted to lean into that, almost classic sitcom trope of having a great opening credit sequence that explained the story. I mean, this show is as inspired by Transformers as it is by classic sitcoms. This is a mix of that. It's the first Transformers comedy show, and that's where we ended up with it.
And in the streaming environment, you always have the little button where you can skip the intro, and I often, when I'm just watching as a viewer, I'll often skip intros.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
But every once in a while, there's a show where the opening credit intro is so solid that every week I'll just watch it all the way through. I will not hit that button. And so this was our bid to try to get an intro going that people would be so into they wouldn't skip.
Yeah, like DuckTales,
DuckTales, Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is definitely one too. Yep.
Absolutely. We would love nothing more than in, 20 years, kids are singing this at their weddings. You know what I mean? They know the song.
Well, job well done. Talking to Doc Wyatt and Kevin Burke, showrunners for Transformers BotBots, which is going to be streaming on Netflix on March the 25th. Guys, there's a lot of fun on this show, but there's also a theme of acceptance here, I think, as well. So do you guys feel like this show is kind of more relatable than it might seem on the surface?
Absolutely. It's the kind of stories we want to tell. There'd be a version of this where you could just do a bunch of gags that would feel like you've just eaten a lot of candy and you can't only watch so many episodes. There's very much a story about finding family in unexpected places. Sometimes these characters make their own mistakes. Sometimes they set out to win something and then they don't win in the way they thought they were going to. We think that's very important to our audience. It's important to kids. It's also important to adults. This whole idea that, we're trying to navigate this world together. We don't know where we belong. It may not be where we think we belong. It may be exactly where we expect it to belong, but there's very much a heart to it that we think is important. And it's part of the co-viewing family experience we hope the show is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in terms of relatability, we think of the BotBots are sort of adult in the sense that they all have sort of complicated relationships, but they're also sort of the kids. They're the kids. I mean, they weren't born yesterday. They're born pretty recently, and they came to life in this world that's built for beings that are taller than them. And they have to find ways to navigate it and to turn it into fun, like things that are mundane human scale things become playgrounds for the BotBots as they make their way in this world. So yeah, we hopefully Burgertron might be a little tiny robot made out of a beef patty, but we hope he's also someone through whose eyes we can see the world.
Most definitely. Now, you guys talked about playing with the toys and stuff while you were getting the show together. So should fans of the toys be keeping an eye out for maybe a few little winks and nods here and there during the show?
Oh, 100%. There are definitely some, especially in later episodes, there are definitely a couple of great fan sort of favorite appearances.
Absolutely, and you might even want to take a closer look into the design of the mall itself, because that might be revealing of some sort of, Transformer Easter eggs.
Ooh, we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled for that. Gentlemen, before I let you go, I've got 3 kids at home. I know you guys both said that you're dads as well. And parents know that there are plenty of animated series out there that you don't want to watch on repeat. You just don't. So how do you think the Transformers BotBots appeals to all audiences? And, for lack of a better way of putting it, won't drive us parents nuts?
Well, we definitely were inspired by and very much based this on, again, being parents and what shows we want to watch. But we live in a great time of children's entertainment that the whole family can enjoy, like the Pixar films, DreamWorks films. There's a lot of things that weren't around in the 80s and 90s that parents and kids can enjoy. And we're very much wrote this show and created the show to be in that zone, to be not the show where parents are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're still watching that show. Please turn it off. Their voices are killing me. This is a show where, if a parent isn't watching it, hopefully they walk through the room, catch a gag and be like, wait, is this show a lot funnier than I thought it was? It's designed to be enjoyed for all ages.
100%.
And you guys are going to find that out for sure. March the 25th, that's when Transformers BotBots is going to be streaming on Netflix. And I don't think you guys are going to be skipping intros, and I don't think you're going to be skipping episodes either, thanks to these guys. It's Doc Wyatt, Kevin Burke. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having us.